Welcome to Contagion Summer 22. The graveyard of NFT collections continues to grow. What was once flavor of the week is now too dead to speak of. So investors and degens alike are feeling the fear in these type of markets as BTC nosedives and is hovering around that 20K support range. Meanwhile, threat of recession is in the air along with other macroeconomic factors. So I'm not going to go too deep on all of that because you can watch my previous videos about that stuff. There's really only one thing on our minds, and that is survival. Specifically, which NFT collections are going to survive. Hey guys, so in this video, I'm going to be going over the important factors, including one that most people aren't even talking about, and the 8 projects on Ethereum that I believe can survive this bear market. As always, NFA DYOR, let's get into it. When evaluating this fascinating new asset class called NFTs, there are 3 important factors to consider. So first, you want to look at what their treasury situation is. And 2, you want to see what type of team is executing along with what type of brand they're trying to create. And number 3 is what type of communities hold this NFT. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about the treasury situation. Does this project have enough in their war chest to basically outlast a bear market downturn? And let's be real, most founders and their founding teams pocket the majority of the initial sales revenue, if not all of it. And that's why it's really important to know how well an NFT collection is funded and their plans for extending the runway through downturns. Although projects may share secondary royalties via a community treasury fund, projects still need to figure out how to monetize the brand because most of these secondary royalties have slowed down considerably. Hint, this doesn't mean more overdone hoodies, please. And so here's the important caveat, right? Keep in mind that this depends on when and if the team locked in their ETH profits and set aside enough for taxes. And while I'm no CPA, it is very likely that the teams who kept their profits in ETH may have trouble paying for taxes on those profits, especially since their ETH is now down considerably. So for an example, if a collection raised 800 ETH back when ETH was at 4,000, it's the USD value that's going to be taxed. And so if they didn't lock in profits, well, due to ETH's volatility, now that 800 ETH is worth much less in USD value. And when taxes come around and these teams don't have the enough liquidity to pay those taxes, you may see some forced selling. Speaking of which, let's go on to the second point, the team itself. If a founder or founding team is richly rewarded from day one, it's less likely that they're going to be hungry enough to keep innovating, growing, expanding, and getting new partnerships. It's incredibly hard to run an NFT project and accrue value back to holders in a way that keeps their communities happy, especially in these types of fickle NFT markets where everyone's attention span is that of a goldfish. And unless it's pure art, when people are paying 4, 5, or 6 figures, there are probably some commensurate expectations for the team to deliver. And this is the type of market that's changed the meaning of utilities, because before, utilities were more emphasized on deliverables, on tangible deliverables, whether that's in real life events, merch drops, airdrops, etc. Now it's more of, do they have enough attention from the space? For example, we saw a lot of the attention go towards goblins when they were a free mint project. Basically, everyone was talking about it. Many people actually used the goblins as their Twitter profiles, and that's where the attention was. So now utilities is more of who has the most attention in this space and who can hold it the longest. Which brings me to my third point, the type of community a project attracts. A loyal and supportive community is really crucial for a project to survive any kind of downturns, especially big ones. And if the majority of holders are flippers or alpha call group people, it just ends up cannibalizing each other, because the whole point of alpha call groups is to identify an early project, get all of their followers to buy in at low entry prices and exit at key target prices. You have all of this volume that goes in at a certain point, causes a pump, and then everyone exits and the project dumps. And so when you have that happen, and that's the majority of your holders, it's gonna be very hard to come back from that initial hype. So judging by those metrics, here's 8 projects that I think can survive the bear market. The first one is To no one's surprise, Yuga Labs' Holy Trinity. At one angle, you have the apes, which includes the bored ones and mutant ones. At the second point, you have punks, which have historical value. And the third point, you have me-bits, which are fully metaverse-ready, head-to-toe 3D voxel characters. Yuga's total secondary sales are over $3.5 billion, of which they get 2.5% royalties on. In terms of teams, you have one of the best teams in the space and also one of the OGs. They've been able to pull notable partnerships, execute creative storytelling, have engaging puzzles, and hyped real-life events with celebrities. Not to mention that the majority of their holders are essentially diamond hands at this point. And on top of that, Yuga really dominates the street art culture niche. Number 2 is Art Blocks. This one dominates the generative art niche by being a platform for generative art projects from multiple creators. They've done almost 1.3 billion in secondary sales, of which the platform gets 2.5% royalties. They had their heyday last summer, and while things have calmed down a little bit, it's still hard to ignore the massive funds that have been raised. Also keep in mind that the holders of these collections have different expectations because a lot of them do buy in purely from the art perspective. And not to mention that with every onboarding of a different artist, they're able to share the unique communities that each artist, so it's almost like a partnership with each artist that they bring on board. Number 3 is going to be Azuki. They dominate the anime field. They initially had a Dutch auction starting from 1 ETH and sold out within minutes. Their secondary sales are about 776 million, which they get 5% royalties, plus an additional 5% on the Beans secondary royalties. The team has top talent. You've got the previous art director from Overwatch, and you also have the controversial Zagabond, who's proven to be a fail-forward type of learner. And if you also like learning, smash that like and subscribe button so that you'll never miss another video. They've implemented innovative marketing with their second hyped drop of the Beans collection. There's mass appeal to the Asian culture, plus outstanding in real life events like the NFT NYC event, plus engaging community-led events. Plus, they actually airdropped pure silk bomber jackets to all holders. Number 4 is going to be Clone X. This project was by Artifact, who was acquired by Nike. This collection is about $700 million, of which they get 5% royalties. Initially, it was a 3 ETH Dutch auction, which sold out at 2 ETH, and there was a pre-sale price of 0.05 to Artifact holders. So there's a lot of cool clout that CloneX has as a trifecta of powerhouses from Web3, the world's largest athletic apparel company, and world-renowned Japanese artist Takashi Murakami. You have massive resources, you have talented team, and you have no lack of exposure, making their community very loyal as well. Number 5 is going to be Moonbirds. They've raised about $555 million, of which they get 5% royalties, plus an additional 5% on secondary sales of oddities. This was a 2.5 ETH mint by raffle only. This was founded by Kevin Rose and his team. There was priority spots given to Proof holders, which is a private members only collective of 1,000 dedicated NFT collectors and artists, including Beeple and Gary Vee. In case you didn't know, Kevin Rose has a cult following, and while they haven't gone down the flashy hype marketing and in real life events route, this project seems to have all the right connections, more than enough cash, and a cult following, which is definitely easier to monetize than your regular audience. Number 6 is going to be VeeFriends. They've done about 552 million, of which the team gets 10% royalties, plus an additional 6.55% on secondary sales of VeeFriends 2. So Gary Vee is the one behind VeeFriends, and in my opinion, he's one of the few celebs in the space who haven't killed NFTs by now. Gary Vee is someone who's more of an influencer, and he's actually building in this space and trying to move it forward. He's also got a very loyal community built from social media. Gary Vee obviously doesn't need the money to keep building and working on this project, but he does have a reputation to upkeep, especially with his brand of being like the hustler mentality, of being the entrepreneur and the go-getter. He's pretty much built his brand off of reputations, so definitely an important motivator for this project. Number 7 is going to be Doodles. They've done about 505 million in secondary sales, of which the team gets 5% royalties, plus an additional 5% on the Duplicators secondary sales. Doodles was founded by Dapper Labs alumni Evan Keys and Jordan Castro, and the artist Burnt Toast. Dapper Labs was the company behind the NFT phenomena known as CryptoKitties and NBA Top Shot. They launched October of last year, originally minting at 0.123 ETH. And as the founder says, the ultimate aim of Doodles is to be an entertainment company. So they raised substantial money, plus they have experience building NFT projects and living through bear markets, and they've been able to bring in high-profile partnerships such as Billboard's ex-CEO and Pharrell. Supposedly there's going to be a lot more news coming out with Doodles in terms of how duplicators is going to work, how that's going to expand the whole collection, and the effect that it's going to have the Genesis OG Doodles collection. Number 8 is Cool Cats. They raised about $363 million in secondary, of which they originally got 2.5% royalty, but recently they changed it to 5% royalties. Also get another 5% off of Cool Pets secondary sales. This was originally a 0.06 mint, which got lowered to 0.02 last summer, and they're one of the OGs from last summer, having minted around the same time as Bored Apes. It was created by an artist, Klon, and it's one of the few projects to actually deliver a game. Plus, they've done community engaging puzzles and incredible NFT NYC experiences from everything that I've seen on crypto Twitter. So because of all of this, they've been able to build a very loyal community, and I've actually seen a lot of people rejoin the cats after the recent dip. But remember, this is all dependent on when and if the team locked in profits and set aside enough for taxes. And if all that's been well managed and they continue to find ways to monetize their brand, their collection, then these are my best bets for the survivors of this bear market. Please like and subscribe if you found this helpful. I would also love to hear who you think should be on the list and why. Otherwise, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.